Hello. Today I want to continue on the grid fight system. So I did a small change compared to yesterday when I stopped streaming. I've changed a little bit, so I've added a new menu, a very small one, which is only open when the fight simulation is running. So I've split the update method of the fight. Now there is one method that like simulate, which does not simulate, but it's just updating the fight logic. So if there are like particles later on when we add particles, or if animations, so this method will drive animations and particles and so on. And the actual fight simulation is this method now. Before it used to be one all-in-one, but now I've split it in two. So I call this simulation update simulation, which looks at the queue of actions and plays them in the correct order. Like in the opposite order we added them to the queue. No, wait, we add it in the reversed way, and then we just play it from top to bottom. So I just call this update method in the new menu, which is menu grid fight simulate. And we go to that menu as soon as we make a new, like either the enemy AI plans a new move, so the enemy AI adds something to the queue of actions, then we go to the simulation menu, or we make a decision. Like we start in this main grid fight main method menu. Here we can decide to move one of our characters, like the one we are just currently looking at. So if we decide to move, we go to the move menu. This is what I implemented yesterday, which allows us to plan the path we want to move, either by clicking on one tile and then the pathfinder will find the path to that location, or we like have arrows on the screen which allow us to plan the path, create the path like step by step, which can give us arbitrary paths, since the pathfinder only gives us like the shortest path. There's a small bug in the heuristic of this pathfinder right now, because I'm not using Euclidean distance, and I forgot that I didn't use it. I'm using some sort of other distance, not Manhattan I think, but some other. So it still finds the shortest path, but no, it still finds a path. When there's a path, it finds it, but it's not guaranteed to be the shortest one due to the wrong heuristic. That's okay. I don't care right now if it's the shortest path, as long as this a path is being found. And I can fix the pathfinder anytime, but not now. When we plan to make a move, like we do the whole movement, let me show it. I will run the game quickly. I didn't test. Oh, I have to, of course, implement this because we here say we want to go to the. Before it used to go to the main menu, and the queue was played back then. But now I must go to the simulation menu, since that's the only menu that's playing back the queue, and as soon as it's finished, it will transition back to the main menu. And later, like right now, we don't have any AIs in the grid fight. Later, it will decide if the next like unit. If that's an AI, then the game will just like. I guess I will then call the simulation of the AI here, and then just reload the simulate menu, and it will play back the action queue since it has filled. It should have filled. Maybe the AI like decides to wait a turn, but even that will be an action which will just delay the fight for a few milliseconds, a few hundred milliseconds. And maybe we display to the player like unit X is waiting, but that everything that dealing with the UI, like displaying stuff to the player, will come later when we have this very simple game loop ready, because right now it's only we're only able to move one placeholder character. So now I've changed it. When we create the path and it's a valid path, we then tell the file to use that path on our actor. And we clear the path, so no path is displayed anymore, and then we transition to the simulate menu. And the cool thing here is that the transition gives us a small delay because this update method of the menu class is only called after the transition has happened. So we have transitions take a few hundred milliseconds, and before, when we plant the path, it would happen immediately, and now we have a small delay, which is nice. It feels nicer now, although I haven't seen it yet, but I know it will be nicer. So I think I can test it now. Let's start the game. I haven't changed the title yet in the stream and below the stream, because we don't have to make the guy move anymore. We did that yesterday, but soon I will come up with a title for today's stream, until I'm exactly sure what to do today. Like obviously, like I will now have to add more actions to the fight. So let's see, we have this placeholder unit, which is a slime. I don't know why I just took one of the existing enemies from the old system. This is what I did yesterday. We can create a path, and at some point it becomes red, because that's currently the distance we can walk per turn. But that's going to be like right now it's 10 tiles, I think. But later that's depending on how much stamina the unit has we want to move, and so on. Or we can like click on one of the tiles and it will find it, not the shortest path, but one path, and it's almost the shortest, just not all the time. Sometimes a weird like this one is weird. This is not the shortest path, and I don't know why. Yeah, it's of course due to the heuristic, but that's okay. Like, and then I click on move unit, and we transition to the playback menu. The thing gets played back, and then we go back to the main fight menu, and we can make another move. That's nice. So as you can see, the movement is instantaneous. Like, we don't right now interpolate between the tile positions, and I will do that soon. I'm not sure if today or next stream, I'm not sure. So I guess I will put this label up here, this where is this coming from? Is it from inside of the fight render method or the main? Yeah, that's in the main, but I think we don't see that. We need it in this one, because that's where the action happens, literally. So plan a move, and then we see up here the size of the queue, which is decreasing since we like simulate actions on the queue and then remove it from the queue. Maybe I will, just for testing purposes, create another action. So right now we only have move. You cannot see it, it's off screen. Let me put it down a bit. This is the move one. And it's, maybe let's put break rock just for debugging, like just for testing. Also this one needs a direction. So we can test multiple actions. They will not be chained, like they will happen on in different turns right now. Like we first make the move and then we move next to a rock and then we do the break. I guess in this grid fight main, I need maybe I need another enum which describes the possible menus we want to show here. Right now it's hard coded. We show move units and toggle grid, and since like toggle grid is not a move that's belonging to the fight system, like it's part of the UI but not of the fight system, it wouldn't make sense to put it in here. It's not something an actor does, it's something we do. So maybe I have to have another layer of UI actions, and there will be all of those actions will also be in the UI action enum. So that means we can add them to this menu and then display a list of possible actions, and when we click on the show grid, it will do the show grid, and if we click on move, it will bring us to the move menu. And then if we here do the move, it will use this action in the action system. I think that's the way I did it in the last fight system. I'm not sure anymore. Yeah, this is the old system, which has a few more features, because the fights already used to work completely, but they were just very boring because there wasn't a grid. There were more like Pokemon fights where you just like, they were more complex than Pokemon fights because you could have more than one like actor on each side of the fight, and they could defend each other. Like that's what this walk to defense is. Like then one of the actor would walk in front of the other one, and like absorbed all the attacks that were targeted at the defended unit. And I will, like, the new grid system will have this, but intrinsically, like, you can move somebody in front of somebody else, but it will not explicitly say like defend somebody, because you defend him by doing like in chess. Like, you defend the king by moving a pawn or something in front of him. Okay, let's think. How did I do it last time? Those are loot stuff that I used to give to the player in fights. Fight items that could be thrown, or heal items, eating food. Other fight items, enemies. Those were the enemies. This is the dungeon, like the enemy behavior, which was very simple back then. Enemy types, strong and tank and so on. And this was the those were the menu, the stuff I used to list in the menu, and that would like bring us to another menu. So I will do it in a similar fashion. Maybe not in that file. I will create a new file. Let's call it, oh no, that's an enum. I've now called it grid UI options for the lack of a better name. And this will be move and breakstone. Let's put breakstone here. Let's also put flee here. It's maybe useful if I want to test the system and I want to flee a fight. Maybe in the actual system later, fleeing will be a feature which will require an item or another ability or something, so you cannot flee all the time from the fight. But for testing, it's nice to be able to immediately flee a fight, so we can look at the rest of the dungeon menus and test another fight and so on. So let's so here I now need a list of UI options, and that will be created dynamically depending on which options we have in each turn. So I have an array of options. How is it called? Grid UI options. I guess I didn't make it public, yeah. That's annoying. Alright, the like toggle grid is of course also here on this list. So now I must compile the list. Maybe make that another method, and here I can like add all the stuff I want to display, and then the initialize cards will use this. Add toggle grid because we want to have that in every turn, and then move like it. There could be situations where the current units that cannot move, so it would be redundant to show that, or we would have to deal with that when we go into the move menu. There would also be other attack options, and now I would only want to show the break stone option if there is actually a stone next to us. So I need to decide we want to have that. So I need to look at the fighting grid. I'm not sure where to put that part of the code if I want to have it in this method, because it can get very long because I have to check multiple tiles. Maybe I will make in the fight something abstract where we can check for all 4 neighbors. Let's do that. It's very simple. Check neighbor. So we put in a tile location on the grid and an actor. No, not an actor, but a tile type will do for now, because right now the grid only has 1 layer, which is the floor, and we put a 1 into the floor grid if we want to have a rock there. So here I check for all directions. By using this lookup table of the directions, or like the offsets to result in the directions. Now we can look at the floor, and we will just return true if there's 1. But later maybe we want to like know if it's 1 above us, 1 below us, and show multiple entries in the menu list. Or maybe that the selection of which one to target will be 1 layer deeper in the menu tree. I'm not sure yet. Stuff like that will like emerge when we further iterate and test the stuff, and like then I can feel how it see how it feels and decide on where to put the menus and in which order and at which depth. And I remember the old fight system was a bit annoying because of the way the menus were laid out or structured, because you had to go too deep into the menu tree to do something. So maybe a more flat layout would be better. But then you have many things to look at. So either you have a short list and you can go deep into the single entries of the list, or you have a long flat list which you have to scroll through. So both of those have like pros and cons. So we look at all the tile positions. by using our position plus the offset, and we compare it to the tile type, and then we return true if it's the correct one, else we return false. And so we check neighbor, the actor. Do we have an actor here? Like, who are we using right now? Okay, right now grid actor. Since we only have one actor anyways right now, I will make it the slime one, but later of course we let the fight decide which one is the next actor. But current actor will be fight.listActors.getZero, which is the slime. But I will only need more actors, or a selection of the current actor if we have multiple actors. So we use the actors position, and then say 1, because that's the value representing a rock right now. And if we are next to a rock, we will display this menu. Let me put an icon here. So those will be placeholders, and later I will add proper icons that fit better for each of the menu types. So what else? Flee should also be an option. So we call this here in the constructor. This compiles the list. Or I have to put the actor before we compile the list, otherwise it will crash. And then it will like put as many cards into the menu, as many options we have. And then when we render the card, we don't do it hard-coded anymore. So we get the option from the list we just compiled and use that to display the card. Okay, it seems the option is not public. Everything should be public. And then when we press the card, I also have to do this, switch for option, and then implement every different possible. And if there is one we haven't implemented, I will just say like so it will not crash, but just do nothing. And here I want to use the current actor, not always the first one. Okay. So logically nothing should have changed but the menu should look a bit different now. And we have more options, and we have the option. Now you can see we have the flee option, which is not implemented. Toggle grid works, and move brings us to this menu. And now if we move next to a rock, the system will see that there's a rock and we can click it, but it's not implemented. And now I can like scroll through the different menus if I have more than 3, because this type of menu can only show 3 at a time. I could remove this panel up here and show 6. So most of my menus are like that. I either show 6 cards or 3 and then something else here. Like for example this one, like most of my menus work like that, with some exceptions, like this home screen menu has another layout because I want to have a map and the news menu here. But if you go into a building, we see 6, if there are 6. If we go into the structure, we see 3, and then like I call this one slim because it's one line, and this one I call not slim, I don't know, full, I don't remember, but this is slim in my terminology. And then we have also these full screen menus. This is a dialog menu, which is also special. And then of course we have these storage menus, which look a bit different, and other types of menus. But this type of menu, like showing, I call this cards menu because it's like consists of a list of cards, and I use that all the time because I like the big buttons, which they work very good on mobile. Like maybe on desktop they're too big, but on mobile they are working very fine, like with every screen size. So let's see, we move to, like right now the fights are not saved. So when I reload the game, the state of the fight is lost, but that's okay, I'm just testing it. Saving comes later. So now let's implement the break rock option. And for that I need grid action. Yeah, that needs to be implemented inside of this play. And it will be a bit similar to this. So we have like action data we can load, which is this list actions thing, which is basically a matrix. And each line of the, like each row of the matrix is one action, and inside of the columns of the matrix they are slots for like integers which contain information about the action, and it's like I can access that memory or integers and use it for the action, like I do down here. I use the 6th integer to save a delay, but I need to lay out it a bit differently because the move thing used more integers to make the moves, but this one, let's see. Here you can see the layout of the data of the row of the matrix. So the first one will always be the ID of the action, the second one ID of the actor, and the rest I can use for whatever I want to save. depending on the action. So I need to, like 2 will be the timer, which right now is measured in frames, but later it will be frame independent. And 3 will be the location of the rock, so we know where to destroy the rock. And if we put action over to true, then the action is over and we can remove it from the queue. Else, like we wait for 10 frames, then we destroy the rock, and then we return true when the action is over, just to test another action. For that I need something in the fight. I need to check the map if there is actually a rock at that location, and if yes, then we set it to 0 again, so it's empty. I must cast this to a byte because I saved the floor as bytes, but maybe I will do it as integers later if I need more values. So we destroy the rock. I could here then like spawn particles, but we don't have a particle system right now in the fighting system. But now I can call fight.destroy rock on the locations. Let's make it more readable by putting them on separate lines, because I have to access the data like that. Can also say here like if this should ever happen, I want to see it. So in that case, I need to, like, I click on the menu, destroy rock, and then I need to know which rock. So I need to implement a new menu, which lets us select rocks. So we will have a list of rock locations. So I can make a copy from this. So here we don't return anything, but we got a list and we can add the locations we just found. Oh no, we just add the X and Y separately. Also need to get the fight fields. And when we click back, we want to go back to the main menu of the fight. Oh no, let me quickly change the task to and then I call so here also initiate the number of cards. I always have to do that, otherwise the game will crash because the menu cannot display anything. But I need to populate the list by using the menu compile neighbor list current actor tile X tile rock. So this index will be the rock we want to highlight before we make the selection. So when we press one of the cards, We can use the select index to get I don't remember how I display the highlight. That's the way. So we also need an oscillator. So if this card is the one we clicked already, we want to draw this box. Let's see if this crashes. Okay, something is messed up. Because I don't change the color back to white. But it looked funny. Let's reduce the number of frames here when we move a bit, so it's quicker to test and I don't have to wait all the time. So okay, let's look at it again. I changed the visuals of the highlighting a bit, but I shouldn't like take too much time because it's only placeholder. Now it's not showing anymore. That's weird that it doesn't show the highlight anymore here. let's not use the oscillator and see if something happens. No. That's weird. What did I change here? I use a color. That's weird. It did display before. So this highlight of the cursor works, but the one that should highlight the rock we want to see does not work. What happens here? Like it did work before. What did I change here? We get back a tile location. Then we set the color, it seems. So now it displays in debug mode. It does display. And now it doesn't? What? So now it works. Now it doesn't? What? That's weird. Now it doesn't? Now it does. That's very weird. So it never works on one rock, regardless how many times. Not well, it does, but not all the time. So what's the problem here? Wait, now the clicks don't work? What? It seems that I somewhere manipulate the color. Okay, I don't understand this. That's super annoying. Why doesn't it work? Now it does. If I go back inside, it doesn't. Every second time it works. No, not every second time. Okay, this is super annoying. Let's see if that works. And it doesn't. Isn't this called all the time? I don't get it. Maybe I shouldn't use those draw calls here. So this works now. Maybe it had something to do with the menu system, but I didn't expect that to happen. But okay, this now works every time. That means I can replace this. Okay, let's implement the break action. So let's see if the rock breaking works. Well, it should. Like move next to a rock, select it, and then nothing happens, and it gets stuck in the action because I didn't update it properly. Yeah, I have to use the correct offset in the data of the action. And now it should. And it didn't do anything. Like, I can break the rock, but our actor cannot destroy. Because it says no rock at that location. I guess I messed up the offsets in the action again, because it's not too. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I didn't. So the timer must be for the X position 2 and the Y 3. Now. Nice, okay. Now we can walk past it. Now let's make a variation of that. So first we add the action of move. I need to pass both locations so we know. So first our location and then the rocks location, because later I need both locations to interpolate between them. And since I first add the move and then the break, it will be like played back in the other order, in the reverse orders. So now we should take the position of the rock after breaking it. Let's see if that works. Yeah, nice. Okay, that was just a test to see if the chaining of actions is working, and it is. It's nice. Just have to make sure all the time that like okay, what to do next? Like I now know that the queue is working. So maybe I should now work on the system that so the fight allows for multiple actors. Right now it's only allowing for one. Like we have a list of actors in the fight. It's above the screen, you cannot see it. So we have a list of actors. And we add the slime to that when we start the thing, but let me first distinguish between actors. Let's just take a villager. We never call the update method of the actors, so let's do that in the fight. So this will also not be the simulation of the fight, only the actors.size. So now we can see the different actors actually using their idle animation, which is nice, a nice detail. We're still not using a walk animation, but at least I can now distinguish between us and the enemy. We cannot move onto the location where another actor is standing. Oh, someone followed half an hour ago and I didn't see that. Thank you. If you're still in chat, thank you. Okay, now I can test simple attacks, I think. Oh no, now I want to test the that the fight can distinguish between it's one of our turns, it's the enemy's turn. So now that each actor has this boolean, we can use it. It should also be public. Everything here should be public. Almost everything here should be public. So now we can come up with an order of actors, but right now the order will just be the order in which we add them to the list. Later in the actual fight, the order will be determined by some value, maybe the agility value or something else. I'm not sure yet how to do that, but I've done it before. Like I've done this order thing before in the old fight system, so it's no biggie. But let me put another method here to the fight. It's a long method name, but it should be fine. So we give it an actor and it will try to find a location this actor should walk to. And later I will implement rounds in the fight. Okay, let's see. Where do I decide who is next to make a turn? Like somewhere I need to decide that, and then the menu system must go to, like, must prevent input from the player, because we want to wait for the enemy to decide. Like, we can decide what the enemy does in one frame, of course. Like, it's a small, like, calculation, and it will grow on complexity later. Maybe it will do a graph-based decision-making system for the enemy AI. And even that, so since the grid is so small, the possible permutations of actions should be doable in one frame easily. Like, it's even bigger grids should be doable easily. But I will probably make an artificial short delay, so for the game feel, so every actor, like, it's displayed like actor is, this one is now acting, small delay, and then he does what he does, and then small delay, and then next one. That's how I did it in the last fight system, and it felt nice. Otherwise everything would be just frame by frame without any delays. But I'm not sure yet where to put the code. Like in the dungeon manager menu, which is open all the time when we are in the dungeon. Like, when we enter this menu, we ask the dungeon game which menu to display, and it will give us the fight menu if we are in the fight. But the fight main menu is the menu that lets us make our turn. We don't want to go to that menu every time. So maybe we decide here, look at the fight data. So maybe I will do it here. Or where else? I could do it inside here, but then I would transition to this menu, decide what other menu to show, and if the enemy is if it's the enemy's turn, then I have to go make another transition, and that looks weird if two transitions happen after each other. So I think it's a good idea to do this here. But I think I will do a small break, get something to drink, and then implement this. I think the next thing I will do is this method, so we can make the AI move around. And let's hope the pathfinding does not fail us here. But we can have multiple tries. Like we can select a random near location from the AI, try to pathfind. If we fail, find another one and do that multiple times. And then stop at some point if we cannot find any valid path, which should be very rare. Like the map should not be so filled with stuff that blocks the paths. Like maybe, of course now it isn't, but maybe later it will be. But it should prevent that, like the enemies should always be able to reach each other and their enemy, which is the player. So every actor should always be able to reach each other. So that problem will be solved when I generate or pre-bake the grids for different fighting scenarios. But as I said, I will be right back after the small break. Okay, let's continue. Let's pick. Let's try this 10 times. It should most likely work. Let's see. How do I set up the Pathfinder again? This way. So we want to skip if it's the same position. This returns true if we found a path. Can just wrap this in a if. Oh wait, I just want to find the location right. So Wait, I do pass the pathfind if I look for a location, and then I do it again when I walk there. That's a bit redundant. So let's maybe not return something, but rename that to so we'll use the AI prefix on every method that deals with AI stuff. Let's see. I don't return anything. I just do it. I will return true or false if it fails to find a location, but if I find one, I will do it. Okay, should be back. The stream should not have stopped. I had a little hiccup. Let's hope it's the only one. So now I must decide. Let's see. Here, get the menu I want to go to. when we enter the dungeon. And if it's a fight, oh, it's a grid fight. But I cannot check for null because there seems to be a grid fight all the time. So let's just, yeah, let's pretend. I just pretend it's always non-null. And in the grid fight, I create a method called player's turn. So that means I need to index current actor and increment that. Increment that at the end of the turn. So maybe ending a turn is a grid fight action. Why not? That would be a nice way to implement it, I think. If it's just end turn, then I have to add it to every action. When we plan the path, we have to first put in add action and turn ID, actor ID. So it will be played afterwards. Same goes for, oh no, yeah, I cannot put it into add action because that's used. Then it would add end the turn after moving one tile. That's not what I want. I have to put it whenever I call. Maybe I need a prefix for action methods. Something like that. Same here. Since the fight, like the grid fight class, will be bloated soon, it's already 600 lines. And since I'm implementing most of the fights stuff inside of this class will be bloated, so I'm like preserving some clearness by using prefixes to same type of methods. come up with prefix for util methods, like those methods that like do simple checks should also have the same prefix. This is also something that that's called from an action. So this should also have so this is called from here when I update the action. All of those methods should also, like for example, the movement does not call anything right now, but it will later when we implement awareness of the surroundings. If our actor moves and steps on the trap, for after every move we call the fight and then something like check for trap or like touch ground, and then the thing like the fight class can react if there's something on the ground the player should react to, or the player characters. And then I will use AI prefix on all the, I'm not sure how many methods there will be for AI. It doesn't matter. Maybe this is also a utility. This is for pathfinding. That those don't need prefixes, and I can also not add them because this comes from a interface. And the path stuff is also utility. Click is menu stuff. Yeah, like in the ongoing creation of this class, I will put more and more prefixes to all the methods so I can sort them. But the one I wanted to look at was like is this called from outside? Yeah, when we do the break rock thing. So maybe I don't want to call add action from outside. I'm not sure because I have to remember to put end turn on everywhere. So maybe I make this private, which I normally don't do because I don't need like visibility stuff in my code most of the time, since I'm working on this alone, so I don't care, everything can be public. And I'm also doing a coding style where I use public stuff, but this should be wrapped then in a method so I don't forget to add like this end turn thing. That should not be forgotten. And then I just copy this and must replace current actor with actor. And rock tile x, rock tile y. Oh, that's the wrong line. I've added this too. So now I need to implement the end turn thing. This will also be a small delay. Okay, so this should work. And this should call the fight and tell it that the turn is over. Then we can increment the round number. and say index current actor is equals 0. And then we can use this to get this and see if and then in the action I call fight.turnover, and in the dungeon game I return player's turn. Then we go to main menu, else. So where does the planning of the next thing happen? I think I will now send the player to the simulation menu, but this will only work if there is actually something to play. So when we say turn over and the next, maybe that's the location where the next guy plans his thing, but that does not allow for smart moves by the enemies. If everybody only acts at the exact time his turn is it's his turn, then there will not be like a coordinated attack or something by the enemies if there are multiple ones. So it will probably change in the future, that, or maybe I can use the current state to still do something smart with that. Like maybe, yeah, I have to make up my mind about it, but I will do it like so if the current actor, here we again look for the current actor. If it's not a squad member, then we decide. Right now there's only one thing the enemy can do, that is walk to a random position, given that they find a random position. Otherwise, yeah, I can just do like add action. I can just add end turn here. I must do that, otherwise we are stuck. So either we find a location and then we do that, and this will also like add end turn, else we at least want to end the turn. Just get actor. Let's see what happens now. I think I add the player first, so we should always be first to make a turn. Because I spawn us, squad member at first, and then later maybe randomly a slime. Well, let's see what happens now. Did I forget something in the grid action? No. Wait a minute. If we play an animation or an action and the current one ends his turn, then he tells the fight turn is over. So the next is planned. If the next one is also an enemy, that means we stay in the simulation menu. I think. Because this one then adds new actions and it will play the next one. And that's actually correct. So we move. And the other ones move and will never stop. So the simulation does not stop and it somehow skips us. We move, then this one moves. Oh, you even moved on my position. That's not allowed. That's illegal. And the queue gets bigger and bigger. Hmm. I must use the debugger to see why this. Wait. Since this call is nested. I must not call this from here. But maybe now, but how does this one? It will just play in simulations until no simulations left, and then it will bring us to the main menu. Let's see if it works. Still. That's weird. Okay, now nobody's here and we should be able to make moves. But if the enemy is here, then I see. I see. The problem is the path. That's the problem. We must return here. Nice. Okay. But we are not allowed to go here. Pathfinder does not react to the to the actors. Why doesn't this work? Why is the pathfinding not working anymore? Yeah, they can also not move. Because the start of the path is the actor itself. So how do I bypass that? Because here I check if the start tile is walkable and the end tile is walkable, and that's when Okay, let's pretend